whoops, let's use a different color than that. Let's try this color. That this is your brain, okay? If this is the conscious part of your brain up here, what part of the brain is this big part down here? Type in the chat box if you know what that part's called. That's called the subconscious, right? Subconscious part of the brain. And that's where all of your memories and of the past and advice from teachers and leaders and parents and media and all that stuff, bad experiences, all resides in there, okay? And so what happens is we go to say we're going to lose weight, for example, and what comes up is that first piece of chocolate cake shows up. Okay? Or roti, or whatever it is that shows up in front of us, and go, you know, one bite won't make too much of a difference, will it? Will it? And what's saying that? You already made the commitment to lose weight. Well, what came up is something out of your subconscious that we call your little voice. Everybody know the little voice I'm talking about? Yeah, it's that thing in your head that just went, what little voice? I don't know little voice. That's the one I'm talking about. Mine sounds like my mother. I don't know what yours sounds like, but the little voice is not the real you. Okay, this is the basics of the solution here. So what do you do? Okay, so when you're designing a course, when you're going to deliver a course, there are two elements, right? First of all, there is the skill development piece. You got to teach them, if we're going to talk about losing weight, you know, what are the skills that they need to learn? We talked about that. Eat right, get exercise, skill development, right? But if we're going to deal with this, if we're going to deal with the resistance right here, what else we got to do? We got to deal with this little voice right here and provide what we call personal development training. Personal development. Okay? In other words, to be a world-class trainer, if you're going to really make it in this day and age, remember what we said about the horrible toll of mental health that COVID had and our society has on mental health, finances, workforce, all of that stuff, is that if you're going to design a program, it must include both. Both. And some of you there say, well, I teach personal development. Okay, well, if you're going to teach personal development, then you're going to have to teach some skill development with it. Notice what Sid said. He said that if you're working with engineers, okay, if you're going to be working with young engineers, and you're going to teach confidence to engineers, that's the personal development side. But in what area? In the area of speaking, team development, and in maybe even in sales, okay? So you got to give them the skills over here, but you also need to teach this part too. Because if you're not, you may be a great marketer, you maybe get a lot of people to show up, but people will not get the results that they're looking for. The reason there's 12,000 people in Sid's network talking to each other is because what he's learned over the years, what we've taught, is the fact that it's both business and personal. And if you just teach personal, then you better throw some technical skill in there. Let's not say business development. Let's say technical skill and personal development skill. They must be married together. I'm going to show you a little bit more how that works. Now, if that makes sense, type in MS in the chat box. Now, how are you going to deliver it? Let's take a look here. How are you going to deliver this? Now, this is called the cone of learning. You might want to take a snapshot of this. But this, when you're designing a program and when you're putting things together, just let me give you an idea of what this looks like. At the bottom of this thing, let me just say here, right here. At the bottom here, this is, we only retain 10% at the bottom of this cone, typically by reading. At the top of this cone, which is maximum retention, what's the best way to retain? Doing the real thing. So, for example, when I'm teaching, like example, Sid's just had you do the niche clarity tool. You actually did the real thing. He talked about it, which is kind of down here. Then he jumped up here and had you do it. Okay? Now, when I teach sales, sales development. I teach them the sales skills, but 2 or 3 times in a 2-day program, I'll send them out there to do the real thing in real life. And many people will fail, but I'm also teaching that it's okay to fail because that's how you learn. You kind of get these dots connecting a little bit, okay? And that's why people 2x, 5x, 10x, 20x their businesses in such a short period of time. Then what happens? Your marketing becomes a lot easier. If this is making sense, yes? So this is kind of your cheat sheet. Again, active learning up here. Notice right in the middle, about 70% retention of whatever you teach is putting your students into a discussion. Now, what's that called in school? Talking in class. You can't do that. You're going to get punished. You sit quietly and let the teacher do all the talking. So you understand, not because teachers are evil, it's because the methodology was designed for an industrial age another time. It was not designed for where we are today. Okay? Now, again, a lot of things in between as we come up here. Watching a demonstration, using pictures. That's why I'm using an iPad. That's why SIDS is using the mind maps, okay? When you finally get people to do things, that's when the maximum learning takes place. So this is kind of a cheat sheet you guys can use when you're thinking about teaching a piece. And again, this is proven to increase retention up to 90%. If that's helpful, type in helpful in the chat box. Okay, these are things that people don't understand, okay, but now you do. Now, let me give you a summary of what I'm talking about here. Now, again, let me just show you the difference in the way of delivery, okay? This is the old way. This is the traditional way that we learn in school, the old way of teaching, the old way of doing things. Okay, so, and this is our way. Okay, traditionally schooling. What's schooling? Teaching people, I do this, you repeat. I do this, you repeat. I do this, you regurgitate. Now, our way is 180. If you take a look at what's done in traditional education, you can just shift 180 degrees of the way it's being done to the way we do it, and you'll understand why what we do is so effective, and we'll understand why even Chat GPT is not teaching you this, okay? 180-degree approach. Watch. Lecture. Typically, lecture is a one-way flow. What do? Educe. The word education comes from the word educe, Latin word educe, which means to draw out of, not to jam into, okay? Draw out. Our job, your job as a leader, is to uncover the genius and the brilliance in other people. The brilliance is not on the stage or on this side of the camera. The brilliance is in the audience. And when you get that through your head, it's a 180-degree shift from the way education is taught. Passive learning, sit and listen, versus active learning, engagement. Type in the chat box, raise your hand, do this activity, work in groups. Speaker focused. It's all about me. No, the audience is the star. The audience is the star. Again, most people suffer from stage fright. I'm not sure if I can present. You know why? Is because most people are more concerned about themselves than they are about the audience. The audience is the star. You think about it, hundreds of you guys on this call right now. For us to think that we're smarter than you would be pure arrogance on our part. Yeah, we've got some information, but we start working with you in an actual program, you'll see your brilliance. Old way is all about driving data. This way is about driving energy. There is no way that SIDS and I can combine 35, 45, 55 years of experience in this business and drive it to you. What we can do is provide you with enough energy to inspire you to want to keep learning for the rest of your life, which is obviously being a lifelong learner is best. Old way, read, memorize, and regurgitate. Our way, games, exercises, experiences. Remember, that's at the top of the cone. What happens in school? You penalize and punish mistakes. For us, You acknowledge them and you learn from them. It's a celebration. You celebrate your errors because that's what every entrepreneur knows. If you let an error take you down, you'll never last in business more than 10 days. Teacher is the authority in the old way. Our way, teacher's a facilitator. Facilitator comes from the Latin or the French word facile, which means easy. You make it easy. Remember, people are going from the known to the unknown. They're going through an invisible barrier of fear. What's it like on the other side? And your job as a facilitator is to make it easy for them to get through that, not to be as the authority, just do as I tell you. In regular school, you work on your own. In this system, you teach you to work, get them to work in teams to enforce collaboration, okay? In school, be number one. No, this way, build great teams. So I'm not through with this list, but can you see that on the right, if most people, most leaders that we know today and most people in positions of influence in the world operated from this place, it would be an entirely different world, yes? Good, thank you. Fragmented learning. What's that mean? Well, you go to school for an hour and a half, they ring the bell, you go to another class, and they ring the bell, go to another class. You never finish anything, okay? It's fragmented. You go from mathematics to history, not even related. This type of schooling, when Sid talks about a golden age and the way our trainers are teaching, we teach wholeness. Become a master of something. Master one piece, then go to the next, then go to the next, then go to the next. This is how you learn any sport, so you learn anything. Open loops. What's that mean? An open loop is like a question in your mind. What did the teacher just say? Well, I don't understand. What's that all about? No, we take the time to invoke mastery. Technical skills, our way, we add personal development skills to all of that. Next one is teacher, okay? Whoops. Teacher and a leader. Teacher and a leader, okay? All right, now, let's, if this all makes sense to you, type in MS in the chat box. Again, these are things that most people will never tell you, never talk to you about. And, you know, whether we ever meet again or not, that would be a tragedy if we don't. But if we ever meet again or not, I want you to have this information because it will make a difference. In your life, it'll make a difference in your kids' life if they happen to have a teacher like this. And you will change the lives of many people that you don't even know. So let's, first of all, now let's take a look at where you're at right now. Let's take a look at this, okay? Because everybody's at a different place in this career path. So if I were to map it all out, kind of looks like this. Now, why in the world would we even want to get into the training and coaching business, some of you that are brand new? Well, I think it's kind of obvious. First thing is, obviously, it's a great way to make money and to have an amazing lifestyle, working from home, working from wherever you want to, with whomever you want to, anytime. You have command of your own time, command of your own relationships, command of money. Amazing. The other reason we do it is for reach, because we want to help a lot of people. That's what you all said in the very beginning. I'm just going to add this one, is that one of the reasons is to be able to make a difference. How many people would like to make, how many of you would like to make a difference in somebody's life? Type in me in the chat box. Okay, so let's take a look at how this plays out, all right? Let's take a look. In the very beginning, when we start, and everybody starts here, you start as what I call a wannabe. You know, I want to be a trainer. I want to be a trainer. It sounds like a good idea. It sounds pretty good. I want to do that. Well, what's that money look like? Well, right now, you just have a job or no income. So we're not really playing into what we want too much. What's our reach? Our reach is non-existent at the moment. And the difference, you may be making a difference to yourself because you're learning for yourself, and that there's nothing wrong with that. Now, what keeps people stuck there is fear. Fear of jumping out of there and blowing it. Oh, what if I screw up? What if I screw up in front of the camera? Or what if I don't make any money? And what if I go broke? And all the things your teachers and parents and friends and all these people, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Now remember, people usually give you words of caution for two reasons. Because they care about you, they don't want you to get hurt, but also because they don't want you to be better than them. So if they can kind of keep you down a little bit, then they can still feel better about themselves. Now that's a little personal development clue, and you'll know if I'm right or wrong. I just leave you with that. But at some level, person says, okay, now's the time. I'm jumping off the log. Remember the frogs? I'm jumping off this log. This is happening right now. And they move into the next realm here that I call, you now become a speaker or a trainer, okay? And or a trainer, okay? Now, what's that look like? What's that income? Well, that income kind of looks like this, up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. It's feast or famine. It's, you know, you're now, your lifestyles, you're working 24/7. It's like, because if you don't sell something, if you don't deliver something, you're not going to eat, okay? So again, it's fairly anxiety ridden, but at least you're in the game, okay? What's your reach? Well, your reach is local. You're touching a few people's lives, and the difference is also local. People are beginning to understand who you are and what you're doing. Now, at some level, you have to make another decision here, and the decision is, I'm all in. I'm all in. You make a commitment, and with a bit of discipline right here, which is what every athlete, what every musician, what every apprentice takes on before they become a master, is you take that on, and over time, what will happen is you become what we call, in this business, a magician. You saw what Sid's developed for you with that niche clarity. That's magic, okay? What he did with AI is magic, okay? Again, not that anybody else couldn't do it, but he's one of the leaders and the innovators in the entire industry. When I'm in a room, the things that we're able to do to get people to change their lives, to get past their fear, to be able to be who they were always meant to be. So people say, that's magic. It's not magic. It's a process. But once you learn how to do it, what happens? Your income starts doing this. People begin to recognize you. Your reach now becomes global, especially these days, okay? The difference you make is also global. Because now, because of social media, people are able, when I do programs, when Sid does programs, there's usually people at least from 15 to 20 different countries all at the same time, okay? Depending on how it's marketed. All right? Now, for a lot of people, this is good enough. This is good enough. I'm good. That's good for me, good for my family. I got a good lifestyle, decent reach, and I'm making a difference. But for some people, what comes up is this thought. There's more. There's more. There's more that I can do. There's more that we can do. There's more that our team can do. And they move into this magic realm that I call, they are now true teacher, leaders, and sages. What do I mean by a sage? A sage is a person who doesn't do a whole lot of marketing because people come to them because of their wisdom. But a great teacher leader, let's look at their income cycle. It's like this. Now, why do I have multiples? Is because there's multiple streams of income. You have product that's generating passive income for you. You maybe have licensees or affiliates that are generating income for you. You're generating income, maybe not so much yourself, but through your teams and other systems, okay? Your reach is global, but watch this. It's not just global in your topic. People start asking you to talk about different topics. Like with me, I started with sales, right? And then it was about teams. And then it's not about trainers. And now it's about entrepreneurship and all these things together, because the third component is you become an agent, recognized as an agent of change when you walk into a room. How many would like to be considered an agent of change when you walk into a room? All right, good, awesome. So this area right here is, we kind of call this a red zone, where everybody starts. This area is what we call a yellow zone. Green zone, much more desirable place to be. And then, of course, up here is what we call the gold zone. The gold zone. Okay? If you follow the steps and you stay true on one course. Okay? Make sense? So here's what I'm going to ask you to do real quickly, because we're going to do a little assessment, real simple assessment. I want you to take a look at this and be honest. Be honest. Like if you want to lose weight, the way to lose weight is you got to first step on the scale. You don't say I'm going to lose weight. First thing you do is you get on a scale and you tell the truth about where you're at. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to type in the chat box, which zone are you currently in? Red, yellow, green, or gold. Type in there. Yellow, red, yellow, red, red, yellow, red, yellow, red, 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 yellow. Good. Yellow, red, green. Oh, good. Green, yellow, red, yellow, green. Want to be good. Oh, good. Gold. Excellent. Yes. Okay, good. Counting on you for leadership. Okay, good. So first of all, give yourselves a round of applause for being honest with yourself. Every single one of us, myself, Sids, everybody included, and another time we could tell you some of our stories too that we're trying to get you to avoid when we were in the red zone and we were in yellow zone and there was no guidance out there, nobody to help. And boy, I'll tell you, we suffered, okay? But because many years ago, my first trainer, my first personal development trainer, asked a few of us as students of his to teach his course. That he selected 100 people. And out of the training to teach the course, only 2 of us survived it. That was Kiyosaki and myself. And the rest has been kind of history. But what he said is, I'll never forget this, and listen closely. He said, I'm not going to promise you money. I'm not going to promise fame. I'm not going to promise people will even like you. As a matter of fact, they might not even like you. But I will promise you this, that if you follow this journey, the journey that Sids and I are talking about, you will become the person you've always dreamed that you could become. How many of you think there's a bigger, better person inside of you? Type in me in the chat box. How many at least hope so? Right? Okay? So we all do. And there's something about this path that the universe says, if you move into this realm, the universe all of a sudden looks at you and treats you differently. Let me share that with you real quickly right now, okay? All right, so let's take a look at this. Go. All right. So, resistance. Remember we talked about resistance, how we get past resistance for our participants. Now I'm talking about you, okay? Is that over here is going pro, as Stephen Pressfield says, about going pro. So again, a few of the things that the little voices that people have in mind with some of this stuff, and I just want to dispel some of that stuff. Right now, what happens for some people, right about now, is fear. Like, wow, this is a big jump. I don't know if I could do something like this. How do you go pro? How do you get past that wall of fear? Well, obviously courage. Your desire has to be greater than your fear. And then what we know, with enough practice, anybody can sell anything and anybody can get a goal into a net if you want to become a striker. Everybody understand? So fear is we know how to overcome it. But your desire to change people's lives, your desire to be the person you always dreamt you could be, has got to be greater. How many people have a great desire? Type in me in the chat box. Okay, good, awesome. Next thing, resistance. Like we said before, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Okay, remember this. The way you go pro is through strong coaching and mentorship. You don't do this by yourself. In the days of the master and the apprentice, is that the apprentice was never by himself. He had a master that would guide him. Yeah, gave him tough lessons to learn, but it was not something that's done alone. School teaches you to do things by yourself. The only time you typically work with a counselor is when you're in trouble, okay? Not for leadership. The other way to get past this is to be, listen to this closely, is to be 100% real. Now, people use the word authenticity. I get it. For me, the term is real simple. Just be you. From here, from your heart, truly who you are. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Don't try to pretend you're like Sid's, like me, like anybody else, because that's a disaster. You are you, and there's no two of you in the world. There's only one you. And when you learn to trust that, you'll be awesome. Okay? We all face distractions and addictions. You know, some people are addicted to being busy. Some people are distracted by their phones, all kinds of stuff. How do you get past it? Okay, well, the way you get past it is, like you said, you got to surrender to a process, all in one source. I had a woman in one of my courses just a couple of weeks ago. She was a black belt in Taekwondo. And I asked her, and I was making this point, and I said, do you have any other instructors in Taekwondo? She goes, nope, just one master. I said, does that master demand all of you? She goes, all plus some. I said, would you consider having multiple coaches in that arena? Never. So you understand, to be a master in a martial art, you have one master coach that you stay with because you trust them and you know they've been there and you know they've done it. Okay? What happens else? We procrastinate. We have other blockages. Well, take some discipline. Little voice mastery. That's why I wrote the book, Little Voice Mastery, How to Win the War Between Your Ears in 30 Seconds or Less. You know, sometimes procrastination is not a bad thing. Now, I'm not going to explain it to you right now, but if it's stopping you from doing what you know is your life purpose, something that you should be doing, it's not good. Environmental pushback. Your family might think, well, why are you doing this? And why are you upsetting all the status quo? And what makes you think you can do all that? Okay, that happens for all of us. Still happens to me, okay? How do you get past it? By going pro, to get past that one, is you have to have a mission for yourself. The mission of the Blair Singer Training Academy is to create the best teachers, leaders, and facilitators in the world that change the way we operate, particularly in the workplace. Okay? Success Beyond is to make India regain its position as the training and education capital of the world. Okay? So those two missions connect. And so what SIDS is doing is creating the best digital teachers and coaches in the world to take on the digital age. So you see the missions work together. And as he showed you, you're part of a community. Now, I'm not saying you abandon your family, you abandon your friends, but you want to be part of a community that's like-minded, it's moving in the direction you want to go, because it'll provide you with mentorship, and it'll reassure you you're in the right place doing the right things. Uncertainty. Well, that happens as an entrepreneur. There's always a little bit of uncertainty, but the whole idea is for you to become who you're meant to be, on purpose and in the zone. And what I mean by being in the zone, how many of you have ever been in a place sometime in your life where you were completely 100% in flow? Completely 100% in flow. Type in me in the chat box. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Being in the zone all the time. Do it, because if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, the universe is going to reward you for doing that. If you're in the wrong place, you will struggle. Pretty simple. I don't have to teach that. That's part of your culture. It's part of the spiritual culture for thousands of years. All right. So finally, a couple of pitfalls. And this is what trips up many trainers. And I don't want it to trip you up. Number one, this is not an ego trip. If you think this is all about you, you will be sadly mistaken and you will struggle. This is not about you. This is not an ego trip. People will tell you, thank you so much for changing my life. Thank you so much. But some of you have had this happen. People come up to you, tell you how great you are. And, you feel pretty good. You feel inflated. And that's okay. But don't let your ego believe that you're better than anybody else. You're just a better student. And you're just doing what the universe wants you to do. Number two, along that lines, it's not about you. It's about them. The number of trainers, the number of people that I've talked to, and even entrepreneurs, it's not about them. It's about what you're giving to the world. It's about the audience. We are here to serve. We are, guys go into the Army because they're born defenders. They're born to be, defenders, to protect the lives of other people. It's not about them. It's about protecting us. Okay. Even though they become rock stars. Okay. Same thing for you and I. Be real. I can't emphasize this enough. Do not overreach your experience. Why? 2 reasons. First of all, nobody can ever argue with your experience. If it's your experience, nobody can argue with you because it happened to you. Don't reach. People try to reach beyond. They do the chat GPT, and there's a topic in there that they have no experience of. Then either don't use it or bring somebody else in that has to demonstrate that piece. You got to be real, be honest and real. People say, well, I've got all these skeletons in my closet. I tell them I got a whole cemetery in my closet, and I'm not afraid to share with people because it's real. It's who we are. It's who you are. Whoops. You'll obtain a lot of power in this business, a lot of power. The power to change people's lives, the power to reveal get them to see the genius inside, get them to see their own unique abilities. And the more power you have, the more humility you practice. If you do that, the universe will treat you well. Why? Because there's an unfair microscope. The minute you decide to do this, and those of you that are trainers, you can vouch for this, the things you used to get away with, the thoughts you used to have, that you used to be able to get away with, you won't be able to get away with anymore. Little moments of indiscretion, like saying off-color jokes or making fun of somebody, you won't be able to do that anymore. You'll have a hypersensitivity to that, which is a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing. When Marshall, my first trainer, said, you'll become the person you want to become, I had no idea what he was talking about, but it put the hook in my cheek. And I went on to do what I love doing. So finally, at the end of the day, become who you've always dreamt you could become. I'm inviting all of you to jump the log, jump off the log, totally commit and surrender to a process that will not only bring you great wealth, great lifestyle, make your family proud of you, change a lot of lives, but think about going to bed at night knowing that you changed the lives of other people and allowed them to have their dreams. Because at the end of the day, we live in a very imperfect world. And the only thing that moves us ahead is you as a great teacher, leader, and facilitator. So again, thank you. I look forward to seeing you in our next program. But thank you again for being here. And don't ever underestimate the power of you. Be awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Blair. If all of you